The March air was cold, but Vanessa's smile was colder. She stood on the church steps in a black dress that probably cost more than I made in a month. Behind her, through the glass doors, I could see the candlelight. The organ was playing. People I hadn't seen in years were finding their pews. I stepped forward. She put her hand flat on my chest. "You're not real family anymore," she said. Her voice was sweet, like she was offering comfort. "Dad wouldn't want you here." I looked at her hand. Then I looked at her face. She was waiting for me to cry. She was waiting for me to argue. Vanessa always expected a fight. I didn't give her one. "Okay," I said. I turned and walked to the side of the church. The hearse was parked at the curb, empty. My father's body was still inside the church. Number. My sister was keeping me from saying goodbye. I didn't cry. I just stood there. Concrete, specific detail, my hands were in my coat pockets, my left hand gripping a tissue I never used. I waited. If you're finding this story moving, please consider subscribing to Revenge Lily. Sometimes the quietest people have the strongest proof. The service ended 45 minutes later. I was still standing on the sidewalk when the church doors opened. People filed out. Some of them looked at me. Some of them looked away. Behind them, I saw the pallbearers carrying the casket down the aisle. I watched them load it into the hearse. I watched the door close. I watched the car pull away. Vanessa followed the casket's ghost, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. I stayed put. A woman in a gray suit approached me. She was in her late 50s, with silver hair cut sharp and glasses that caught the light. I recognized her from Dad's Christmas cards. Margaret Chen. His estate attorney. "Claire," she said. Her voice was low, professional, not warm, not cold, just precise. "I need to speak with you." I followed her to a bench under a bare oak tree. The parking lot was nearly empty now. The last cars were pulling away. "Your father added a codicil to his will 3 weeks before he passed," Margaret said. "He didn't tell your sister. He didn't tell anyone but me." She handed me a sealed envelope, cream paper. Heavy. My name on the front in my father's handwriting. "What does it say?" I asked. "Read it when you're alone," she said. "But I'll summarize. Any heir who wants a share of the estate must account for every withdrawal made from your father's bank account during his final year. If they can't document where the money went, they forfeit their share." I felt something shift in my chest. Not grief, not anger, something quieter, something like a door opening. Dad was an accountant. He kept everything. Every receipt, every statement, every canceled check. He used to say it to me my whole life. "Keep the receipts, sweetheart. You never know when you'll need them." I had kept them. Every bank statement from the past year was in a shoebox under my bed. I never knew why I saved them. Maybe I did. Margaret stood up. She adjusted her glasses and looked at me with something that might have been satisfaction. "Your father wanted you to have the last word," she said. She walked away. I sat on that bench for another 20 minutes, the envelope unopened in my hands. The church doors were locked now. The parking lot was empty. The March wind blew through the bare branches. Hearing cry, I sat in my living room for a long time with the envelope in my hands. It was cream-colored, heavy paper, the kind Dad always used for important things. My name was written across the front in his handwriting. The pen had pressed hard into the paper. I could feel the indentation with my fingertips. I didn't open it right away. I set it on the coffee table and made a cup of tea. I watched the steam rise. I let the bag steep for exactly 4 minutes the way he taught me. Then I sat down, picked up the envelope, and slid my finger under the flap. Inside was a single page. Legal paper, folded twice. I pulled it out and read it once, then again. It was a copy of the codicil. Dad's signature at the bottom. Margaret's signature as witness, a notary stamp. And one paragraph that changed everything. Any heir who wishes to receive a distribution from my estate must provide full documentation of all withdrawals made from my primary checking account during the 12-month period preceding my death. Failure to provide such documentation shall result in forfeiture of that heir's share. I read it a third time. Then I laughed. It was a small sound, almost a cough, but it was real. Dad had been an accountant for 43 years. He balanced his checkbook to the penny every Sunday morning. He knew where every dollar went. And he knew Vanessa had been helping herself. I went to my bedroom and pulled the shoebox out from under the bed. It was a plain white box, the kind that holds printer paper. Dust clung to the lid. Inside were bank statements, every single one from the past year, plus receipts, canceled checks, and the little notes Dad used to write to himself on the margins. Paid lawn guy, groceries, 4723. Vanessa, see attached. I spread them across the floor. March, February, January, December, November, October, month after month. I started with the most recent statement, the one from March 1st. The March statement showed a balance of $2,000. That was it. $2,000 from a man who had retired with over $100,000 in savings. I knew because he told me. He showed me his portfolio once, proudly, like a kid showing off a report card. I went back to February. A withdrawal of $5,000 on February 5th. Vanessa's signature on the slip. January. A transfer of $30,000 to an account I didn't recognize. The account number ended in 8742. I checked the routing number. It was from a bank across town. December. 15,000 cash withdrawal, signed by Vanessa. November, October, September. The pattern was the same. 17 withdrawals over 8 months. Cash, transfers, and payments that I didn't recognize. I added them up on a scrap of paper. $82,450. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I thought I would be angry. Instead, I felt cold. Clinical. Like I was grading papers. I put the papers back in the shoebox and the lid on tight. Then I went to bed. The next morning, March 16th, I woke up early. I made coffee. I called Margaret at 7:58 in the morning, 2 minutes early. She answered on the first ring. Margaret Chen. It's Claire Morrison. I need the original bank records. And I need them before Vanessa knows I'm looking. There was a pause. Then I heard what sounded like a smile in her voice. I was hoping you would call, she said. I'll have certified copies ready for you Monday morning. 9 o'clock. Thank you, Claire. Another pause. Your father was very proud of you. He told me once that you were the one who paid attention. I hung up. Then I called Tina. She answered on the second ring. You okay? She asked. I need you to come over. Annette. She was at my door in 20 minutes. I let her in and pointed at the floor. She looked at the shoebox, then at me. Her face went through a sequence I knew well, confusion, recognition, then hard, hot anger. Tell me, she said. I told her everything. The funeral, Vanessa at the door, Margaret and the codicil, the shoebox, the signatures, the $82,000. Tina sat down on my couch. She picked up one of the withdrawal slips and held it to the light. That bitch, she said. That absolute bitch. Dad knew, I said. He added the codicil 3 weeks before he died. He knew she was taking money. He set this up. Set her up, Tina corrected. He set her up. I looked at the papers again. I have her signatures. But I need the original bank records, certified copies. Something that holds up in court. Tina nodded. Margaret has them. She does, Monday morning. Tina smiled. It was not a nice smile. I'll bring snacks on Monday, she said. This is going to be fun. I woke Monday morning at 6:30 without an alarm. I had not slept well, but I did not feel tired. There was a kind of energy running through me, cold and steady, the way I feel before the first day of a new semester. I made coffee. I fed the neighbor's cat while she was out of town. At 8:45, I put on a gray blazer, the one I wear for parent-teacher conferences, and drove to Margaret Chen's office. Her building is downtown, a brick building from the 1920s with a brass sign that says Chen and Associates. I had walked past it 100 times. I had never been inside. The receptionist smiled. Miss Chen is expecting you. Margaret's office was lined with law books. She stood when I entered, and she did not smile. But her eyes were kind. Good morning, Claire. No. Sit. I sat in a leather chair across from her desk. She did not speak at first. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a manila folder, thick and well-worn. These are the certified records from your father's bank, she said. Every withdrawal from the account over the past 18 months. She placed the folder on the desk. She did not push it toward me. Your father called me on February 23rd, she said. He asked me to prepare the codicil. He was very specific about the language. He wanted anyone who had taken money from his account in his final year to have to prove it was for him. Otherwise, they would forfeit their share. I nodded. He was an accountant for 43 years, she said. He knew exactly what he was doing. She pushed the folder across the desk. I opened it. The top page was a summary. It listed 17 withdrawals over 8 months, each signed by Vanessa Morrison. The total, $82,450. I did not flinch. I had already done the math in my head. But seeing it in black ink, on legal paper with a court stamp, that was different. That was evidence. I flipped through the pages. The withdrawal slips were color copies. Vanessa's signature appeared on every one. It was her real signature, not a forgery. She had not even tried to hide it. The third page showed a transfer on January 5th. $30,000, moved to an account ending in 8742 at a different bank. Margaret had highlighted it in yellow. I pulled the receiving account records as well, she said. That account belongs to Vanessa. She used it to pay off credit card debt. I kept reading. There were withdrawals for $2,000, $5,000, $7,000. Cash. She had gone to the bank and taken it out. The final withdrawal was February 10th. Vanessa walked into the local branch and took out $4,000. The computer timestamp showed 11:18 in the morning. He died 3 weeks later, I said. Yes. I closed the folder. Thank you. Margaret did not hand me anything else. Instead, she stood, walked to a filing cabinet and unlocked it with a small brass key. She pulled out a long, white envelope. There is something else, she said. She held the envelope but did not give it to me. Your father took out a life insurance policy 10 years ago. After your mother passed, he named one beneficiary. She paused. That beneficiary is you. I blinked. The policy is worth $200,000. I did not say anything. I felt something shift inside me, something I could not name. He wanted you to have it, Margaret said. He never told Vanessa. He told me to keep it sealed until after the funeral. She handed me the envelope. Your father, she said, was a very careful man. I took the envelope. It was cream-colored, like the one from the funeral. Heavy paper. Open it when you get home, she said. And keep it somewhere safe. I put the envelope in my bag. I did not open it. As I stood to leave, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Vanessa. I let it ring. I walked to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and watched my hand tremble on the steering wheel. $200,000, a policy I never knew existed. The phone buzzed again. Vanessa, I answered. Claire. Her voice was warm, almost friendly. I need you to sign a waiver, just a simple form. It'll speed up probate so we can both move on. I turned the key in the ignition. I'll think about it, I said. Don't think too long. Dad's house needs to be sold, and I need access to the accounts. It's what he would have wanted. I smiled. She could not see it. I'm sure you're right, I said. I'll call you tomorrow. I hung up. The life insurance envelope sat in my bag. The bank records sat on the passenger seat. Vanessa did not know about either one. I pulled out of the parking lot and drove home, my hands steady now, my heart cold and clear. I agreed to meet Vanessa at Dad's house on Wednesday afternoon. She picked the time. 3 o'clock. She picked the place. The house where we grew up, now empty, still smelling like Dad's coffee and old paper. I knew what she wanted. The waiver. My signature. My surrender. I brought the folder. Tina had offered to come with me. I said no. This was between sisters. She said, call me the second she starts yelling. I promised I would. The key still worked. Dad gave me a spare 2 years ago, before everything fell apart. I let myself in at 2:58. The house was quiet. The curtains were drawn. A stack of mail sat on the kitchen counter unopened. Dad's reading glasses were still on the end table, next to his chair. I sat down on the couch. The one Mom picked out in 1998. Beige floral print. Ugly then, ugly now. I placed the folder on the coffee table. Closed. Waiting. Vanessa arrived at 3:07. She did not knock. She used her own key, let the door bang against the wall, and walked in like she owned the place. Which she planned to. Heels on the hardwood. A cream blazer. Sunglasses pushed up into her hair. She looked around the living room like she was already measuring for new furniture. You're early? She said. 7 minutes late, actually. She ignored that. She dropped her purse on the dining table, pulled out a manila envelope, and held it up like a trophy. I had Margaret draft the waiver, she said. Simple document, just says you agree to let the estate move forward without delays. What? It's standard. Let me see it. She seemed surprised, but she handed it over. I read every word. It was exactly what I expected. A single page. It said I waived my right to contest any distribution of assets. It said I agreed to accept whatever Vanessa decided was fair. It did not mention the codicil. It did not mention the bank records. I set the waiver on the coffee table. I did not sign it. So, Vanessa said, crossing her arms, are you going to sign, or are you going to make this difficult? I'm still thinking about it. She sighed. Long and loud, a performance for an audience that was not there. Claire, I don't have time for this. There's a buyer for the house. Cash offer. 2% above asking. If I don't have probate cleared by the end of the month, we lose it. Dad's estate, our inheritance, whatever you want to call it. I stayed still. I kept my hands in my lap. I looked at her face. She was good. She was really good. Warm smile. Concerned eyes. The whole thing was a mask and it fit perfectly. But I had seen what was under it. Tell me about the money, I said. She blinked. What money? The money you took from Dad's account, $82,450. 17 withdrawals over 8 months. The mask cracked, just a flicker, a twitch at the corner of her mouth. Then she laughed. A bright, brittle sound. Claire, that's ridiculous. I was Dad's caretaker. I paid his bills. I covered his medical expenses. After he went into hospice. What? The withdrawals, the biggest ones, they happened after Dad moved to hospice care, when his expenses were covered by insurance, when he didn't need anything but a bed and pain medication. Her smile did not reach her eyes. You don't know what you're talking about. I opened the folder. I pulled out the first piece of paper, a color copy of a withdrawal slip from February 5th. $5,000. Signature, Vanessa Morrison. This is your signature, I said. She looked at it. Her face did not change, but her hand moved to her purse strap. She was gripping it. Anyone could have forged that, she said. Margaret has the originals, certified by the bank. She showed them to me Monday morning. You went to Margaret? Of course I did. She's the executor. She told me about the codicil. Did you know about the codicil? Vanessa's mouth opened. Closed. She had not known. I could see it in the way her eyes darted to the floor. You think you're so clever, she said, her voice dropping low. You think you can just waltz in here and... I'm not waltzing anywhere. I'm sitting on Mom's couch, in Dad's house, with 17 withdrawal slips that have your name on them. Dad was dying. He didn't know what he was doing. You weren't even there, Claire. You weren't here. I was the one who took him to appointments. I was the one who held his hand. You abandoned him. You told me not to come. Because you didn't want to. You've always been like this. Cold, distant, playing the victim while everyone else does the work. I pulled out another paper. The January statement. The $30,000 transfer to an account ending in 8742. Your personal account, I said. $4,500 from November. $8,000 from December. $30,000 in January. And then, on February 10th, while Dad was unconscious, you took another $4,000. Her face was red now, patches of color spreading up her neck. You are so out of line. Dad trusted me. He loved me. You were never his favorite. Everyone knows that, maybe not. But I was the one he taught to keep receipts. I pulled out the final piece of paper, not a bank record. A printed email. A transcript of a voicemail she left on February 10th. The one Margaret had pulled from Dad's phone. Hi Dad, it's me. I just wanted to say I took a loan from your account. I'll pay it back when I sell the house. Don't worry about it. I'll bring the paperwork by tomorrow. Vanessa went white, not pale. White. The color drained out of her face like someone had pulled a plug. How did you get that? Margaret had Dad's phone. The voicemail was still saved in his messages. She made a transcript. That's not what I meant. I was going to pay it back. I was always going to pay it back. She did not answer. You wanted me to sign a waiver, I said quietly. You wanted me to walk away, to let you take everything without a fight. But Dad knew. He knew what you were doing. That's why he added the codicil. That's why he left me the insurance. Well, insurance? I stopped talking. Her eyes went wide. She had heard it. The word. The slip. I had not meant to say it, but it was out now, and I could not take it back. What insurance? She said. I stood up. I slipped the papers back into the folder. I tucked it under my arm. I think we're done here. You can't just. I can. And I am. She stepped toward me. For a second, I thought she might grab me. But she stopped. Her hands were shaking. You're making a huge mistake, she said. I will contest the will. I will tell everyone how you manipulated Dad. How you turned him against me. I will burn this family to the ground before I let you take what's mine. I walked to the door. I opened it. I turned back. You should check your accounts, Vanessa. Go. I smiled. Schedule the probate hearing. I'll see you there. I stepped outside. The cold air hit my face. Behind me, I heard her phone ring. She ignored it. Then I heard her scream. A short, sharp sound. Like an animal caught in a trap. I did not turn around. I walked to my car. I got in. I started the engine. And as her car screeched away from the curb, tires squealing, I pulled out my phone and called Margaret. Schedule the probate hearing, I said. I'm ready. The courtroom had high ceilings and wood paneling that smelled like furniture polish and old paper. Judge Harrison sat behind a raised bench with reading glasses perched halfway down his nose. He had white hair, and the kind of face that had seen every lie in the book. Vanessa sat at the table to my left. She wore a navy suit with gold buttons. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like a woman who had already won. She smiled at me across the aisle, a thin, polished smile. The kind you give to someone you are about to destroy. I did not smile back. Margaret sat beside me. She had a stack of manila folders arranged in a neat row, a yellow legal pad with handwritten notes, a paper cup of water that she did not touch. She leaned close and whispered. She brought her own documents. 3 pages. She had them notarized this morning. I sent you copies last night, I nodded. That was the key. Margaret had forwarded me Vanessa's proposed receipts at 7:30 the previous evening. I had spent the night examining them. Vanessa's lawyer stood. A man in a gray suit named Mr. Hartwell. His voice was smooth and practiced. Your Honor, my client has prepared a full accounting of every dollar withdrawn from her father's account. She obtained these receipts from 3 separate medical supply companies. She was simply handling her father's care, as he was unable to manage his own affairs. Judge Harrison looked at me. Ms. Morrison, do you have anything to present? I stood. I was wearing a black blazer I had bought on clearance 3 years ago. The sleeves were slightly too short. I do, Your Honor. I opened my folder. I slid out the first document. It was a certified bank record from Dad's bank. 17 withdrawal slips, each one signed by Vanessa Morrison, each one time-stamped. This is the official record from my father's bank, I said. 17 withdrawals totaling $82,450. Every single signature matches the documents. Ms. Morrison already provided to this court. The difference is that her receipts show medical expenses. The bank records show cash withdrawals, direct transfers to her personal account, and 1 transaction made on February 10th at 11:18 in the morning. My father was unconscious at that time. Hospice records confirm it. The room went quiet. Vanessa's smile had stopped working. It hung on her face like a picture on a crooked nail. Judge Harrison adjusted his glasses. Mr. Hartwell, does your client have bank records matching her receipts? Mr. Hartwell cleared his throat. The receipts are from the suppliers themselves, Your Honor. I pulled out the next document. These receipts are forgeries, Your Honor. The fonts don't match. The company names are misspelled. One of them lists an address for a business that has been closed for 6 years. I had spent last night comparing Georgia and Helvetica under a desk lamp while Tina brought me coffee. Margaret's copies had arrived just in time. Judge Harrison examined the receipts. He held them up to the light. He set them down. Ms. Morrison, do you have any other evidence? I nodded. I pulled out my phone. I pressed play. The speaker was small, but the room was silent. Vanessa's voice filled the courtroom. I took a loan from Dad's account. I'll pay it back when I sell his house. The recording ended. Vanessa's chair scraped against the floor. She stood. Her face was red. That was a private conversation between me and... Sit down, Ms. Morrison, Judge Harrison said. His voice was calm, hard. Vanessa sat. Margaret stood. She placed both hands flat on the table. Your Honor, I am prepared to testify that Mr. Robert Morrison was of sound mind when he added the codicil to his will on February 23rd. I met with him for 90 minutes. He was lucid. He was specific. He told me exactly what he wanted. What did he tell you? Judge Harrison asked. Margaret looked at me. He said, my daughter Claire keeps the receipts. Make sure she has a chance to use them. Something broke inside my chest, gently, cleanly. Judge Harrison lowered his glasses. He looked at Vanessa. Then at me. I have reviewed the will. I have reviewed the codicil. I have reviewed the bank records and the audio evidence presented today. He paused. Morrison, I find that you have engaged in financial abuse of an elderly person. You are removed as executor immediately. You are ordered to repay $82,450 to the estate, plus interest at 5% from the date of each withdrawal. The life insurance policy naming Claire Morrison as sole beneficiary is valid and shall be paid directly to her. Vanessa's mouth opened. No sound came out. Mr. Hartwell leaned over. He whispered something in her ear. She shook her head, once, hard. Judge Harrison set down his papers. This court is adjourned. The gavel hit the wood, a sound like a door closing. Vanessa turned to me. Her eyes were wet. Her lipstick had bled into the fine lines around her mouth. You did this. You destroyed our family. I did not answer. I gathered my papers. Margaret placed a hand on my shoulder. Vanessa grabbed my arm as we walked toward the door. Her nails dug into my sleeve. This isn't over, she hissed. I pulled free. Oh, sweetheart, we haven't even started. The life insurance check arrived on a Tuesday. Certified mail. I signed for it at my front door and the postal worker smiled like she knew. $200,000 in a plain white envelope. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at it. Dad had taken that policy out 10 years ago. I always wondered why. Now I knew. I called Margaret first. She picked up on the first ring. The house is still in probate, she said. Vanessa has a buyer. Cash offer, 2% above asking. How much? $357,000, closing next week. I want to make a counteroffer. Margaret was quiet for a moment. Then I heard her smile through the phone. Lunch. $360. Cash. No contingencies. You understand what that will do to your sister? No. Good. Margaret handled the paperwork. I signed everything at her office on a rainy Thursday afternoon. She slid the documents across her desk and watched me write the numbers. Your father would be proud, she said. I did not cry. I just kept writing. The sale closed on April 15th. Tax day. Dad would have laughed at the timing. The hospice donation followed 5 days later. I called Pacific Northwest Hospice House myself. The woman on the phone kept saying thank you. I kept saying it was nothing. It was not nothing. It was everything. I stopped by the house one last time before turning over the keys. The realtor had already stripped the furniture. The rooms echoed, but the light still hit the kitchen counter the same way it always did. I ran my hand along the granite. Dad used to stand there every morning making coffee, reading the newspaper. I pulled a white rose from my bag and laid it on the counter. Then I locked the door and walked away. The police station was 3 blocks from my apartment. I filed the report on April 22nd with a detective named Morales. She had kind eyes and a tired voice. She listened to the whole story without interrupting. You have documentation? She asked. I placed the folder on her desk. 17 withdrawal slips, the bank statements, the voicemail transcript, the forged receipts from the hearing. She flipped through every page. This is thorough. I had a good teacher, I said. She looked at the picture of Dad on my phone. He was an accountant? 43 years. He taught you well? I nodded. She told me she would open an investigation. She would need to interview Vanessa. She could not promise charges, but she would push for them. Thank you, I said. She shook my hand. Thank you for coming forward. Most people don't. I learned about Vanessa's license suspension 2 days later. Margaret texted me the news. The real estate board had launched their own investigation based on the court findings. Vanessa could not sell homes until it was resolved. She called me 7 times that evening. I did not answer. Each call went to voicemail. The first message was angry. The second was desperate. The third was quiet, almost broken. "Claire, please, I need to talk to you. Things are falling apart." Mark left. He said he couldn't live with someone who stole from a dying man. He took the kids. "Please, I need—" I deleted the voicemail. The fourth call was from a number I did not recognize. A lawyer. Vanessa was filing for bankruptcy. She was selling her own house to pay the $82,450 judgment plus accrued interest at 5% annually. By the seventh call, she was crying so hard I could barely understand her. I blocked the number. Tina came over that night. She brought wine and takeout from the Thai place I liked. We sat on my couch and watched the rain hit the window. "You okay?" she asked. I thought about it. A month ago, I was standing on a sidewalk watching my father's coffin roll past me. Today, I owned nothing of his but a white rose and a stack of receipts. And I had never felt more free. "Getting there," I said. She raised her glass. "To your dad." I raised mine. To keeping receipts. The wine was cold. The rain kept falling. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. The cemetery was on a hill at the edge of town. I hadn't been back since the funeral. I told myself I'd been too busy. The hearing, the house, the police report, all true, but busy was a good excuse to avoid the one thing I still had to face. I pulled into the gravel lot at 10 in the morning on a Thursday, April 25th, nearly 6 weeks since I'd watched his coffin roll past me. The ground was still wet from last night's rain. I walked up the path with a single white rose in my hand. No bouquet, no grand gesture, just one flower, like he'd always brought my mother on Saturdays. I found the grave near the back, under a maple tree that was just starting to leaf out. The headstone was simple, gray granite, his name, the dates, and a line at the bottom. He kept the book straight. I knelt down. The grass was cold through my jeans. I didn't pray. I'm not the praying type. But I talked. "Hey, Dad." My voice sounded small. The wind carried it away. I kept the receipts. I set the rose against the headstone. The white petal touched the edge of his name. "You told me that every day for 43 years. Keep the receipts, sweetheart. You never know when you'll need them." I almost laughed. I thought you were being a cranky old accountant. But you knew. You knew exactly what she was doing. I sat there for a long time. The sun came out from behind a cloud. It was warm on my face. I remembered a conversation from last November. I'd brought him soup in the hospice room. He was weak, but his eyes were still sharp. He grabbed my wrist. "Kitten," he said, his old nickname for me, the one Vanessa always rolled her eyes at. "Kitten, look in my desk, the bottom drawer. There's a folder marked Taxes. I don't need your tax returns, Dad." He smiled, a thin, tired smile. "Just keep it. And keep the receipts, all of them, every single one." I thought he was just being paranoid, fading fast, trying to control what he could. I told him I would. He closed his eyes and nodded. Months later, he was gone. I sat at that grave until my knees went numb. The maintenance man drove past on a golf cart. He tipped his hat. I nodded back. My phone buzzed. A text from Tina. "Drinks tonight? We're celebrating." I typed back. "Where?" "You pick. You have the money now." I smiled. That was true. The life insurance check had cleared. The house was gone to the hospice charity. The police investigation was moving forward. I had a stack of legal documents in my apartment that proved I'd done exactly what he asked. But I also had a decision to make. I looked at the headstone. "I'm taking a sabbatical," I said out loud. "Next year. I'm going to Europe. I've never been. I think Mom always wanted to go, and I'm going to go for both of you." The wind picked up, the leaves rustled. "Vanessa doesn't know where I'll be. And she won't." I stood up. My knees cracked. I brushed the dirt off my hands. I kept my promise, Dad. Every dollar, every receipt, every signature. I kept it all. I walked back down the path. The gravel crunched under my boots. At the gate, I turned around once. The white rose was still there against the gray stone. I didn't cry. I'd done enough crying. I got in my car, opened the window, and drove into the morning light. For the first time in my life, I was free. If there's one thing I want you to take from this story, it's this: keep the receipts. Not just the paper ones, the voicemails. The texts, the memories of what people said when they thought you weren't listening. One day, you'll need them, and when you do, you'll be ready. Thank you for listening. If you want to hear more stories like this, please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.